The cop who threw me in handcuffs for driving my own car had no idea who I was. He thought I was just another black woman to bully on a quiet afternoon. 30 minutes later, the United States government thought I had been kidnapped. Let that sit for a second. My name is Nadine Brooks, and at the time this happened, I was the director of the FBI. Not an analyst, not a field agent, not works with the Bureau sometimes. I was the person all those people ultimately report up to. And on that day, in a pretty quiet, good school district town called Millbrook, a small-town police chief looked straight at my federal credentials, called them fake, and slammed my face onto the hood of my own car. Yeah, that happened. I'm going to walk you through exactly how that traffic stop turned into a lockdown in Washington, a federal raid on a local police department, and a corruption case that rewired American policing. But I don't want you to listen to this like a documentary. I want you to hear it the way it felt. As a woman alone on the side of the road, as a black professional used to smiling through disrespect, as someone who has put away criminals her entire life, and suddenly realizes she's staring at one in uniform. If it were you in that driver's seat, what would you have done? That day started stupidly normal. I had just finished a classified briefing at a regional field office, the kind where the air tastes like burnt coffee and fluorescent light. And the slides are covered in red boxes around phrases like pattern and systemic and sustained complaints. We had been tracking clusters of police abuse, extortion, falsified reports. Not the kind of viral clip that rages for a week online. I'm talking about places where the numbers were wrong in the same way, over and over. Millbrook was one of those dots. I chose to drive myself back, no escort. Sometimes I liked the silence. It gave me room to breathe between being Director Brooks and being just Nadine, the kid from a neighborhood where we knew exactly what it meant to keep your hands visible when blue lights appeared behind you. The sun was soft, late afternoon leaves, doing that slow, golden thing in the suburbs that realtors love. Millbrook looked like a brochure. White picket fences, flagpoles, joggers, golden retrievers, all the cliches. It also felt tight in that way some towns do. Like there's an invisible line where you're not supposed to belong. You know what I mean. I saw the cruiser before I heard the siren, parked at an intersection angled just enough so he could eyeball every car passing. Older white guy, big shoulders, that lazy confidence that says this is his town, and you're just visiting. I clocked the unit number, his face, the way his stare didn't slide off my windshield like it should have. It stuck. Followed. Then, light. No speeding. No broken light. No rolling stop. Nothing. Just me, a black woman. Owning a black sedan with government tags in a rich white neighborhood. I pulled over smoothly, engine off, both hands on top of the wheel. Trained habits, old survival script. He walked up slow. License and registration, he said. No hello, no explanation. Tone like a command, not a request. Yes, Chief, I answered because I could read his badge. May I ask why I was stopped? He cut me off. It's Chief Rivers, and I have reasonable suspicion this vehicle might be stolen. There it was, thin as tissue, heavy as a brick. I handed everything over. No sudden moves. Nothing sharp in my voice because I knew exactly how quickly ego plus bias plus a gun can flip a scene into a funeral. Inside, I was irritated, not afraid. Not yet. I'd seen men like him in case files all my life. Old school, tough on crime, no paper trail, plenty of stories in the community. The kind who thinks his badge is a crown. He studied my license like I'd just handed him a confession. Then came the first pivot point. Step out of the car, he snapped. Is there a problem with my documentation, Chief? I asked. Out, now. Hands where I can see them. Right there I had options. I could have ended it. One move, one line. "I'm Director Nadine Brooks, FBI, call this number." And he would have stumbled all over himself. But here's the thing, we had been investigating exactly this pattern. And in that moment, watching him, I thought, show me who you really are when you think I am nobody. So I stepped out, 6 feet in heels, navy suit, simple jewelry, the look of someone who knows exactly where her day planner is. His eyes flicked over me, not with respect, not even with basic professionalism. It was contempt, amusement, and something uglier. "You people," he muttered. "Circling, come in here with your fancy cars and attitudes thinking no one's gonna ask questions. I ask questions." "I'm not sure what you mean by you people," I said, even though we both knew. "Don't play dumb with me." He announced a safety search. If you've ever had one done right, you know what it is. Quick, neutral, efficient. This was not that. His hands lingered where they didn't have to, pressed harder than necessary. It was about dominance, not safety. For a second, the humiliation caught me off guard. Then the training kicked back in, and I started counting in fractions in my head like beads unlawful. Stop profiling improper search harassment. Then his hand found my credentials. He flipped them open, saw the seal, my face, my title. That should have been the end. Instead, he snorted. "Yeah, okay, nice fake," he said, and tossed them on the hood. Pattern interrupt. Because that was the moment the story stopped being a bad traffic stop and became something much bigger. He had just looked directly at his lifeline out of this mess and thrown it away. "I'm placing you under arrest," he said loud, like he wanted the birds to hear him. "Suspicion of grand theft auto resisting an officer, and we'll see what else." "I haven't resisted anything," I said. "Your attitude is resistance," he answered. And that was it, wasn't it? The whole theology of men like him in one line. The cuffs bit my wrists. He pushed me down on the hood of my own car. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a tiny clinical voice noted the angle, the pressure, the unnecessary force. The rest of me was thinking, Nadine, this is going to ripple, because my devices, the ones woven into my job, do not like it when I go dark. In D.C., my deputy, Julian Park, was going through routine updates when an alert slid onto his screen. "Director location static, you unscheduled, comms offline, stress elevated." Those alerts don't mean she stopped for coffee. They mean assume something is wrong until proven otherwise. Within minutes, they had my route, my last ping near Millbrook, and the fact that my car had stopped in a town already marked with a quiet red flag. Protocol 7 went live. That protocol is not a game. It moves air assets, scrambles, secure lines, notifies the Attorney General, the White House, all of it. While that storm was forming, I was in the back of Chief Rivers' car, looking at the dirty cage mesh, listening to him brag to dispatch like he'd just collared a fugitive. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. Silence is its own weapon. "You know," he said, eyes in the mirror, "you'd be amazed what happens when people cooperate in my town." "Chief," I told him, "for your own sake, verify my credentials." He laughed. "Lady, I am the law here. That line aged badly." He drove me to the Millbrook Police Department, a squat brick box behind a row of small shops. The kind of place people drive past 1,000 times without thinking about what happens in the rooms with no windows. We pulled into the back lot away from public view. Intentional. As he walked me in cuffed, he called out to the detective at the booking desk. "Got a grand theft auto resisting fraudulent Fed ID." The detective, Rachel Alvarez, looked up. Late 30s, tired eyes, that specific weariness of someone who has watched too much and said too little. Her gaze moved from him to me, and I could see her brain doing the math. The suit, the shoes, the posture, The calm. "What do we have, Chief?" she asked automatic. He slapped my credentials onto the counter. "She thinks she's somebody." Rachel picked them up, turned them under the light, saw the seals. People in small departments don't often see our top-level IDs. Still, there are tells. Her face drained. "Chief," she said quietly, "we need to talk." "Later, Alvarez. Book her." She didn't wait. She slid my fingers onto the scanner. The print system pinged the federal database. The screen flashed red. "Executive match. Director Nadine Brooks, FBI. Contact federal security immediately. Unauthorized detention subject to prosecution." Rachel froze. "Chief," she called sharper now, "you need to see this right now." He walked over, read just enough to understand then. Reality knocked, and he did what cowards do under pressure. He lied to himself faster. "This is BS," he muttered. "Fake system hit. She fooled it. We're too deep. We stick to the story." That right there was the moment his fate locked in, because at the very same time in DC, Julian was on a secure call. Her last confirmed location is Millbrook PD. We have a federal executive match triggered from their fingerprint terminal. They're holding her. "Are they cooperating?" someone asked. "Not yet." "Then move." Federal vehicles rolled. Tactical teams kitted up. A Black Hawk team was rerouted. And a lot of very powerful people, all focused on one tiny brick building run by one very arrogant man. Back inside, I watched the fear bloom on Rachel's face as she realized he was going to double down. I watched Officer Thompson hover in the background, confused, but listening. I watched Rivers cling to "my town, my rules," like a life raft made of lead. "Detective Alvarez," I said, voice level. "This is your moment. When this is reviewed, and it will be, they will ask if you tried to fix this or if you helped him bury it." "You don't talk to my officers," Rivers snapped. "You don't talk at all." Outside, the first helicopter passed over. "Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind." The phone in his office rang with that sharp, insistent tone reserved for calls that can end careers. He finally answered. "This is Deputy Director Park," Julian said. "You are holding Director Brooks. You have 10 minutes to release her. After that, we assume hostile intent." "You've got the wrong person," Rivers said, knuckles white on the receiver. The line went dead. He walked back into booking, trying to pull his shoulders up like nothing had changed, but everyone had heard enough. Rachel's hands were shaking. Thompson was staring. I stood there, cuffed, watching a man realize the world outside his bubble was real and coming. "Chief," Rachel said, voice cracking, "we have to release her." "We are not being bullied by DC," he said. "We verify on our terms." That was his last decision as a free man. The breach was controlled, loud, perfect. Front doors blasted. "FBI, don't move." In that kind of moment, you see who people really are. Alvarez dropped to her knees, hands visible. Thompson slowly raised his. A couple of officers hesitated, then folded. Rivers just stood there, staring, caught halfway between outrage and terror. One of my tactical officers spotted me. "Director Brooks, are you secure?" "I'm fine," I said. "Cuffs." Click. Freedom. Just like that, balance of power restored. "Chief Leonard Rivers," a senior agent said, turning to him. "You are under arrest for kidnapping a federal official, civil rights violations, under color of law, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent." "You can't," he stammered. "This is my department." I looked at him. "No," I said. "It never was. You might think the story ends there. Bad guy in cuffs. Good guys roll credit. But that would be too easy. And honestly, it's that easy story that lets this son of rot grow back. Because once we opened Millbrook up, we saw it. All of it. The books were dirty. Money flowing into equipment funds that never bought equipment. Protection payments from businesses who donated right before certain citations vanished. Cases against friends of City Hall dismissed like clockwork. Complaints about force disappearing in internal review. A judge on the take. A local attorney washing their money. It wasn't quirky small-town justice. It was a mob with municipal health insurance. Rachel sat down with our team. 15 years of things she'd watched and tried to forget came pouring out. Extortion, selective enforcement, racial targeting, retaliatory transfers. She had kept copies quietly like a woman who wasn't ready to blow the whistle, but also wasn't ready to let the truth vanish completely. Some people online later asked why she didn't speak up sooner. Fair question. Do you think that's fair, though, to ask that only of the people surviving inside the abuse, not of the ones thriving off it? Within hours, we had warrants. Within days, we had arrests. The mayor, the judge, the respectable lawyer. Multiple officers. Within weeks, we'd mapped similar patterns in departments in other states that looked a little too much like Millbrook to be coincidence. The twist isn't just that a cop kidnapped the FBI director. The twist is that his arrogance exposed a nationwide blueprint. Fast forward to the trial. United States v. Rivers et al. I sat there while the prosecutors went through it. Years of illegal stops. Beatings, planted evidence, protection rackets, falsified reports. Former Chief Rivers stood there in a jumpsuit instead of a uniform asking for mercy. The judge listened, then handed him life without parole, and stripped every asset tied to his crimes, put it into a fund for his victims, and for police reform. Some people clapped in the hallway that day. Others said it was too harsh that he'd given his life to law enforcement. Let me ask you, if someone weaponizes the badge for 3 decades, how much of that life was actually given to law enforcement, and how much was stolen from the people who trusted it? The mayor got 25 years, the judge 30, the attorney 40. The core dirty officers got serious time. Rachel, with all her failures and all her courage at the end, received probation and lost her badge, and she accepted that. Thompson and a handful of others were cleared and helped rebuild. We tried to draw a line between people who led the rot and people who survived under it. You might agree with where that line landed. You might not. Argue it. We took the seized money and built something new in Millbrook, the Community Justice Center. Glass walls, cameras, public reporting, a community oversight board with real teeth. No more backlot bookings in the shadows. No more pretend audits. We brought in Chief Elijah Monroe, one of the few who'd pushed back internally and had the reputation to back it up, and put him in charge of a department built on the opposite of whatever Rivers believed. And here's the part that still chokes me up a little. The people came back. Maria Santos, who used to pay cash every Tuesday to keep her food truck from getting shut down, rolled up to that new building and sold tacos to cops who paid with their own money and receipts. Kids played in front of a station that no longer felt like a threat. Complaints dropped not because people were scared, but because fewer bad things were happening. Millbrook became a model, whether it wanted to or not. We formalized it. Federal task force dedicated purely to police corruption. Pattern analysis of financials, complaints case outcomes. Whistleblower protections for honest officers. A national training program built off what we learned from their failure. Over the next few years, we used that model to crack open similar schemes across the country. Some smaller, some even uglier. From the outside, people see the big headlines, the big numbers. X arrests, Y million recovered. From my side, I see faces. The kid who finally got his bogus record cleared. The shop owner who no longer flinched at a cruiser. The young black officer who said, "Thank you, now I can wear this badge without feeling like I'm joining the enemy." But I also see something else, and this is where I want you to lean in. None of this happens if I am anyone else. If I'm a nurse, a line, cook, a mechanic, a college student home for break. That stop goes very differently. No federal dashboard lights up. No Protocol 7. No helicopters. Maybe I sit in that cell all weekend while they verify my identity. Maybe that video never surfaces. Maybe Rachel never finds her courage. Maybe Rivers retires with a plaque and a handshake. That is the part I cannot dress up for you. The system responded for me in part because I was important on paper. The real question, and it's one I still wrestle with, is this. What do we do for the people who don't have a title that scares a chief into thinking twice? So I'm going to throw this to you now. If it were you sitting on that curb, hands shaking, listening to an officer invent reasons to arrest you because of how you look or where you are, what would you have done? Kept your head down, fought back, prayed someone was watching. Do you think it's justice that it took a federal director in handcuffs to push real reform into places that had been screaming for it for years? And what about the officers inside those systems like Alvarez, like others? We met in other towns, people who stayed quiet too long, then finally helped us tear it down. Do you believe in redemption for them? Or do you think silence makes them just as guilty? Say it honestly. These are not hypothetical lives we're talking about. I told you this story the way it felt. Messy, human, unfair, and then strangely full circle, part revenge, part repair. For some of you, this is going to feel like vindication. For others, it's going to sound like federal overreach. Good. It should bother you. Stories about power and justice that make everybody comfortable are usually lying. So here's what I want you to do. Tell me in the comments where you stand. Was Rivers' punishment right, too much, not enough? Would you trust a rebuilt department after something like this? Or would you move your family out and never look back? Have you seen smaller versions of Millbrook, where you live the little favors, the lost tickets, the intimidation that everybody jokes about, but nobody challenges? Or are you in law enforcement trying to hold the line from the inside, and you see how dangerous a man like Rivers is for the thousands of good ones? Drop your stories. Argue with each other, but do it in good faith. Share this with someone who still thinks corruption is always somewhere else, or that racism in policing is just a media angle. And if you want more real stories like this, told from the inside, no sugarcoating, no scripted PR language, hit subscribe and stay with us. Because some stories are meant to entertain you. This one is meant to make you choose a side.